Testing, testing.
I'll call the meeting to order then. This is an officially scheduled meeting of the Historic Resources Commission of the City of Albany. We welcome all those viewing on YouTube and in attendance here this evening. If any comments, anyone is registered to make a comment, we just request that it be kept to the topic at hand under the jurisdiction of the HRC, as well as limiting it to 3 minutes in duration for the interest of everyone present. This evening, we have myself, John Myers, the chair of the commission, Commissioner McEnany, Commissioner Garrity, Commissioner Kaplan, Commissioner Hacker, Christopher Lohman from the City Preservation Planner is at the control board this evening, and we are honored to have Brad Glass, the Director of Planning, here in attendance as well in this meeting. We have, as I understand it, just one item on the agenda. The 29 South Ferry Street application has been temporarily withdrawn, and we will be reviewing that at a later date, presumably. So on the agenda this evening, we have 45 2nd Avenue in the South End, Prospectville District, and this is the presentation related to the efforts to comply with what was in the documentation that we put together at the last meeting when demolition was approved, with the conditions of doing the utmost salvage to the cornice and other documentation of the building. So someone from the land bank is here this evening to describe the steps that they have gone through and the investigations that they have performed related to particularly the cornice, so that we are kept informed. I don't believe there is anything for us to decide since the decision has already been made.
Yeah, so Jason, if you have and then, as always, just state your name for the record.
Yep, I'm Jason Chicoine, representing the Albany County Land Bank. Yeah, thank you.
What's your last name, Jason?
Chicoine is CHICOINE.
So at the last meeting, the Historic Resources Commission approved the motion with the conditions that prior to demolition, the applicant document and photograph the structure. The documentation must include the architectural description, photographs of all facades, the documentation to be submitted to the City of Albany planning staff for record retention. The applicant must coordinate with the Historic Albany Foundation regarding potential historic salvage, and to the best of the applicant's ability must determine the feasibility of salvaging and storing of the historic cornice, with the understanding that it will be part of a future development, and that the applicant must provide that determination to the Historic Resources Commission at a future meeting prior to the demolition of the structure. So Jason, if you want to walk through.
Yeah, I guess I'll start on that. We started this process by reaching out to Historic Albany and getting their recommendations. So I met their warehouse manager on site. He said that he's done a lot of salvage experience. And this is summarized in he sent me an email summarizing what he told me when we were at the site. So I sent that over. But just to quickly summarize, that he said that because the structure is wooden, because the cornice is wooden, in the way that it was attached to the building, it could not be repurposed for a building facade. He recommended that it be salvaged in small sections. So he was recommending corbel to corbel, so roughly like 4 foot sections. You're just trying to salvage it as best we can. He wasn't sure if all of it was going to hold up, but he thought that was the best method for doing so. He said that he could be on site when the salvage is taking place, so anything that is salvageable would be donated to Historic Albany. And then his other recommendation is that this could be reused in the building somehow, not as the facade, but some way decorative in the building. So he said he's done this in the past where he's built, I think he said like a mirror frame or something that could be repurposed into the property. Historic Albany provided recommendations for demo salvage crews. One of them was WPNT Construction. The land bank currently has a contract open with WPNT Construction for demolition projects unrelated to 45 Second Ave. So we asked them if we could amend that contract to include 45 Second Ave. They were agreeable to that, so I have a proposal. We have a proposal for them so that they can do the work, and then so they have a proposal for the demolition, but also the cornice salvage, and we'd be working off the recommendations from Historic Albany on how to remove the cornice. That was that process. I also sent Chris the documentation of the building. I took more external pictures when I was there on site, and I don't know. So I believe that fulfills what we were asked to do, but.
Yeah, so they've supplied us with more external images focusing on all facades that are visible from the public right-of-way. We also have drone imagery provided by Sam Wells of the roof, as well as it was circulated in the packet, narrative of the site as well. And then Jason, we had talked also about you had looked at some of the documentation you submitted to SHPO.
Yes.
You're going to review all this and you would produce a little more of that if needed.
Yeah, I referenced the building inventory form from SHPO when I was putting this together, so that has some of that detail in there. I was trying to find as much info as I could on this building.
And this is on page 4 of the package.
Chris, can you read to us what the approval, our letter of action specifically said?
So the motion to approve with conditions was prior to the demolition, the applicant must properly document and photograph the structure. The documentation must include a site narrative, architectural description, and photographs of all facades. And documentation must be submitted to the City of Albany planning staff for records retention. The applicant must coordinate with the Historic Albany Foundation regarding potential historic salvage. And the third condition was, to the best of the applicant's ability, they must determine the feasibility of the salvaging and storage of the historic cornice with the understanding that it will be utilized, or that it will be part of a future redevelopment. The applicant must provide this determination to the Historic Resources Commission at a future meeting prior to the demolition of the structure. And that was, you had made the motion, Commissioner Garrity had seconded it, and it passed with 5-0.
So the almost the middle part, it feels as it's a challenging situation, and you did a great job doing your understanding of what we wanted. So thank you for that. It doesn't feel to me to be in the spirit of what we would have hoped happened. And so could you read those last?
Sure. So the applicant must coordinate with the Historic Albany Foundation regarding potential historic salvage. And then the other condition was, to the best of the applicant's ability, they must determine the feasibility of the salvaging and storage of the historic cornice with the understanding that it will be part of a future redevelopment. The applicant must provide this determination to the Historic Resources Commission at a future meeting prior to demolition of the structure.
So the first of those said, and I don't remember if the first of those said as practical or what was that?
They must determine the feasibility, or sorry, to the best of the applicant's ability.
Yep.
They must determine the feasibility of the salvaging and storage of the historic cornice.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
so
first section.
I guess what we'd say is the applicant has said it's not feasible.
Yeah.
And that ability to make that determination seems to fit under,
Yeah, under that provision
that,
with them
okay.
coordinating with historic Albany.
okay, so now the second one.
With the understanding that it will be part of a future redevelopment. And then that section or the last part of it?
No, I guess, here's my concern, and then we can kind of go back and look at the language and you'll tell us what your thoughts are, but it doesn't feel like it fits the spirit of what we were trying to achieve. And I don't know if we had known it was wood and not metal. I'm not sure how our conversation would have gone. It might not have gone any differently. It's just a different demolition and salvage effort. But it doesn't fit the spirit of the hope of we're going to lose a building. How can it be part of a rebuilding? And maybe the assumption is that it was part of a facade, but it as a salvaged element doesn't fit the spirit of what I thought we were hoping would happen.
I think the word that's missing is intact. Apparently, there's 5 pieces of it. And I saw the term corbel. I assume they're talking about each one of the sections. And that they,
Corbel to corbel, yeah.
So that what would happen is that it would be broken into 5 pieces. But at no point does it say, and then would be put back together again, putting it on a new building or a repurposed building. Instead, the materials will be broken apart, made somewhat irrecognizable because they'll be out of context, and there's no plan to put them back together again. Is that an accurate description?
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Again, it's a difficult situation. We'll work through this, but it both is of concern because it doesn't feel like it met the intent of our conversations, number one.
What would it have met our intention if all of this is true and it's difficult to move and probably difficult to storage too, but they didn't say that. And then at the end, there was a phrase, and will be reassigned at a later date at a different location. That's not there.
Correct.
And when we talk that in some cases, we recycled them somewhere in the building, like in a mirror frame, that's far away from what I think was the intent. I think.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was what I was trying to
I
get at.
think the missing element is the one that is missing, which is and reassembled at a later date. I think all of us understand there's a lot of weight involved in it. It's unwieldy. There's a storage problem, et cetera, and probably that's understandable and allowable. But on the other hand, the reassigned together in the same pieces in another usable way, I think that's the way we would have understood it, knowing that there could be difficulties.
The wooden cornice goes across the front and up the side. It's quite large. And I'm certain if anyone who tries to take it apart is going to lose some elements of it.
Yeah.
It won't come down entirely, but yeah, I still think it could be done.
I think the other part for the
We don't
next
have a
time this
picture of it to
comes
lose
in a
something.
different context is having been part of reassembling buildings, as others have, is unless the intent is to do that early on and the documentation supports, okay, we have 14 of these, here's unit type A, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, so that even in the deconstruction process, you have enough information to reasonably guide you through a reconstruction.
Yeah.
And we didn't get to that. So when it comes back, or the next time, or whatever, if that's the intent, that might be also helpful to consider, is not just the documentation of the building, which we did as part of the demo of the loss of the building,
Yeah.
but the kind of, not to belabor it, but a technical plan to assist in the reconstruction. But we didn't do that.
Square view of it.
Can you zoom into that bottom middle?
I'm gonna try to get a picture.
It's a special skill that Aaron has, Chris.
Jack just asked for a front view.
I do have a picture.
Oh, yeah, there's a
great.
front view, Jack, right there.
There you go. Print that one.
Was the expectation, was that cornice would go on the new building, is that what we're?
No.
We didn't get that far, yeah.
Or
We're on demo.
some new
We're on
building. But
demolition
apparently
right
the
now.
warehouse person at Historic Albany doesn't think it can do that.
That's what he explained. He explained that because of how it's attached and how it's deteriorated, that he doesn't think it would be able to be reassembled or reused on externally on a building, just because it's too far gone.
I don't know the current manager, and I don't know what their
His
construction.
name is Marco, right?
Yeah, I don't know what his
Yeah.
construction experience
Yeah.
is versus other. They have a lot of different backgrounds.
That, I also think about like, okay, the insurance involved. It's can Historic Albany Foundation insure it? Does it take that one? I
You want to pass this over?
don't. I mean, I'm not trying to be this way or that way.
Yeah.
No, there's 9 panels.
It's
Front,
certainly
5%.
weathered to a good condition, really, and I'd say medium condition, didn't go up. But it still stands a chance to do.
Is all the detailing the same on the side elevation?
I think, yeah, it repeats, I believe.
So at a minimum, in the mode of could this be reused as part of a future building, you've got, they're not bays, but sections. We got 4 sections here and then over many running down the sides. So you've got plenty of pieces to,
Right, if you lost half of it, it still would be a good thing.
Yes,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to say it like that, but yeah.
and would Historic Albany store it?
That's what they said they could store it for
Okay,
us.
so that's a possibility if somebody down the road is looking for.
I think there's buildings that could use them.
Yeah.
I'm aware-
Yeah, maybe you can
I'm
make it
aware of
happen.
many, but.
Yeah,
yeah, but then we would have a I mean, it's a
Yeah, right,
tricky
it still has to
discussion as
fit the size,
Brad was starting
width.
to ask. Like, would we use it would you use it on a careful reconstruction? Yeah, because then the whole thing is trying to be a careful reconstruction. Would you use it as a modern on a modern building, as a
Flare.
flare? I don't know. Would you
Those
use it
are
on a
good.
building in a whole other neighborhood where that wasn't what you had?
Right.
Probably not.
Who's you? Would you use it? Like
Oh,
man
would one.
or- One, okay. So it could be anybody, you're saying?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, those are just questions. With one.
I'm sorry I'm late. I had very bad traffic on the Northway and I missed the meeting where this was decided, so I don't want to butt in, but I have sort of a point of order question that I'm sure has already been discussed, but what's our jurisdiction over where a salvage piece of a demolished building in a historic district can go and what can be done with it?
So within this case, the request was for a presentation to be done involving the applicant to the best of the applicant's ability. They must determine the feasibility of salvaging and storing the historic cornice, which was a condition of approval that they have produced documents to the best of their ability, with the understanding that it will be part of a future redevelopment. And so in terms of this is the presentation, as I've stated, the motion was passed last meeting. So there is no action item before the board outside of the presentation about the feasibility of the cornice from the applicant's best of their ability in coordination with Historic Albany Foundation. in a general sense, the utilization of historic salvage in the city is done, as we've seen with, railings, windows, doors,
Right.
things like that. And so in terms of the reuse of a material in an item, as long as it produces code compliant historic resource overlay sections of the code compliant results, then it could be approved.
Okay. So the proposal is that it be donated to Historic Albany. But are we discussing?
I'm not sure, that's a really good question. Would you read the last sentence again?
Sure. Well, it's not the last sentence of the portion, or what I just mentioned. Because the last section is the applicant must provide this determination to the Historic Resources Commission at a future meeting prior to the demolition of the structure.
Not that one,
Okay, the one before that?
thank you.
So to the best of the applicant's ability, they must determine the feasibility of the salvaging and storage of the historic cornice with the understanding that it will be part of a future redevelopment.
So determine the feasibility with an understanding. Okay,
Is there an important word there that must be done?
I don't think.
I mean, is this like,
There
wasn't it
wasn't
the
much.
Wellington cornice that came down that Historic Albany stored for, 20 years or 10 years? And then it got put back?
Oh,
Does anybody remember?
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
The cornice of the Wellington Hotel
Yeah,
was
the-
stored at Historic Albany.
The new
And-
building was actually, a few stories were taken off.
Yeah, but then the
Right.
cornice was put back on the, like, is that what we're asking? Because that's what I'm just not clear of, because the proposal is that therefore it is highly advisable that the cornice be donated to Historic Albany. So are we putting a condition on the donation to Historic Albany that it be? So are we just we're questioning?
that's what we're trying to figure out.
Whether it should be donated to Historic Albany, or are we asking for the land bank to continue owning it and Historic Albany to hold it in trust?
I think until it can be used as a building, on a building instead of, What was mentioned-
Cutting it into little pieces.
Yeah, it might have-
It may not even be architectural.
it might have been before you got here, like to use the
Yes.
frame of a mirror, for example.
Okay, yeah.
Like Marilyn was like, that's not really what we were going for in our motion that we did last meeting.
So, yeah,
We're thinking more it should be reused as a building, but I don't think we really stipulated.
I think we were relieved, because we were so supportive of your project, I was relieved to find a potential solution.
Right.
And I knew it wasn't gonna be easy, and I wasn't sure what you'd come back and tell us, but
Right.
so we're
in
not,
such support.
we're not saying it should go on the new building here, we're saying it should go on a
I
building.
think so.
But that it's owned by the land bank, or it's owned by Historic Albany? Because the materials talk about donating it to Historic Albany. Are we putting a restriction on the and I'm just going back to the Wellington, because that was very specific. This cornice is held in trust to
For
go
this
back on-
building.
For this building. And so if it's being, I'm just playing this out, if we're saying land bank, you must hold this cornice and put it on a future new construction, that's one thing. If we're donating it to Historic Albany and then putting a restriction on it, that feels a little different. And both feel like philosophically, the building's gone, the cornice is being reused. Do we really care if it's used for a mirror or some new building? It's all just fanciful at this point. It's building art. It's not really the historic cornice. So like, why do we care what they do with it as long as it's salvaged?
I think that's what we're trying to grapple
Right,
with.
well, that's a
Yeah.
very good point. No, that's definitely a good point.
And then I guess my question was, what's our jurisdiction? Because legally, this feels kind of, if we're talking about the building and now the building's gone, where's our, that's why I go back to the Wellington. The Wellington was still intact. So we had a reason at the time, not me, but other, but this is, the building's gone. So are we allowed to say this legally?
As that I will say I'm unsure. The structure, the new redevelopment of the structure will also come before the historic commission, because it is a reconstruction in a historic, or a construction in a historic district.
Oh, good, so we could.
So we will see this site again with a different building on
Are
it.
you sure you can use that
And the
corner?
discussions that you guys could have discussions about cornice profile and style then as well, if you're looking for similar cornice styles to be recreated or something like that. That's a discussion you guys could have. In terms of what's before you guys today, the land bank is fulfilling the requirement to present that according to their determinations of their feasibility and their salvage, that it can't be reused. Again, in the spirit of what maybe the commission was hoping for, but that they did, under a good faith effort, provide feasibility and salvage as determined by historic Albany.
I'm gonna try that, too bad or otherwise, we came to a conclusion when we saw this before that said this cornice should be reused. And we went through, that was what we kind of said. And so, yes, there's a lot of, I agree with you, a lot of discussion as to what does that mean, in what way, is it appropriate, et cetera, and that's worth talking about, but maybe not here, because we've already said we want this cornice to be available for reuse. So we've already said that.
We also, I don't know if we use the same word, we also use the word, we want to see it saved and cutting it up into pieces and then for different purposes, not saving it. If we want it saved, it should be architecturally useful. One place might need only 3 sections of it, another might need more.
I have no problem getting there very easily. That was the intent.
Saved.
And again, does it, how many sections does it need to come down in? How do you facilitate that it will be able to be reused? How do you catalog the components? Where's it going? Okay, those are the questions that go with that, but we already said this should be reused
On a building?
on a building.
Okay, so that was the key point. You said it should be used on a building, not for a mirror or for anything, but that it shall be what the condition is that it be reused as a cornice on a building. That's where that was
It was clearly, no, I think it was clearly the intent.
okay,
I don't know if we said it.
I don't know the
It's
words
not
that we
stated
used.
that way. But that-
okay.
It wasn't exactly stated that way. It was,
Yeah,
I think,
you
the
also,
tenor of the discussion was that, any elements of it that can be reused, would be good as a cornice, or guide the design of a cornice for a building of, that replaces this one on the site. But I think having the components available for reassembly, depending upon how they come down, and as Max says, if you've got, 5 bays on one side and 4 bays on the front, out of all of those 9 bays, you're probably gonna have enough components conceivably to put it on the front of a building that goes on this site. It's not probably gonna be enough complete to wrap the corner the way this one did. So it will evoke a different feel than the original building did. But a new building's gonna evoke a different feel anyhow. So it needs to be consistent with the new building and the design of it. It doesn't wanna look like some ersatz thing pasted on the building. That's kind of falsely historical.
Mhm.
And I won't be surprised that when the new design that is proposed for the development project, that some effort from the land bank, the architect, and or us will ask about some traditional bay treatment, so all of a sudden we don't feel like we have a 40-foot long or 60-foot long, whatever it might be, structure. So it will be from a design standpoint, it will
Well-
be feasible to use this.
Right, I mean, these components would be available to reuse in a new cornice on this building. If it's, of the kind of proportion of a townhouse that we normally see, where we ask for cornices and ask for different profiles, but they're modern interpretations of a cornice. Here we have an opportunity to reuse components, if not duplicated in its entirety, but duplicate components of it with original material. So it's kind of a gift to the building.
So
Fit
if we were
parts.
consistent with that additional detail that you just provided, talk to us about the salvage piece portion again.
Let me pull it up. So
Please.
the applicant must coordinate with Historic Albany Foundation regarding potential historic salvage. That was also in reference to the prior noted discussions regarding both exterior and interior salvage, which Jason, I know that you also have been working with Historic Albany for some of that. And then again, to the best of the applicant's ability, they must determine the feasibility of the salvaging and storage of the historic cornice, with the understanding that it will be part of a future redevelopment. The applicant must provide this determination to the Historic Resources Commission at a future meeting prior to the demolition of the structure.
So Marco had said that he didn't, from Historic Albany, that he doesn't think that it can be reused on the exterior of a building.
Yeah.
And
I
it
don't know,
sounds like
Marco.
there's questions about that.
Right.
So, I guess my question is, are we going to say this cornice just must be used on the exterior of the building and have that condition?
Well, it goes further. We don't know, Marco, but in that period, the recommendation outlined in his email states that the cornice should be removed in 4-foot sections.
Mhm.
Okay, so that makes sense to me. So, okay, let's take that cornice down carefully in 4-foot sections. Now, I think perhaps what we're saying here is that we don't want it donated to Historic Albany Foundation. That's maybe at the core of what's problematic.
Yeah.
It's yours. And it's yours to hopefully be reused.
Yeah.
And we're asking Historic Albany to hold it for the land bank.
It's only one option, that's the land bank's
For the
choice,
land
where do
bank
they
to
wanna
hold
hold
it.
it?
This is true.
We don't wanna donate it and have it go.
I'm sure you would.
Yeah, that's my question.
They don't have a warehouse or space.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can make an arrangement with them, but we don't wanna donate it to,
Historic
Historic
Albany, no.
That's kind of the crux of my
Keep it-
question,
keep it-
is who owns this cornice? And if we're saying a condition is that it be reused, well, then it sounds like we're saying to the land bank, please,
Try to reuse
Carefully
it in the
salvage this
future on
following all
some
those.
other building
Mhm.
or reconstruction or renovation.
Have you talked to like the demolition company that's gonna demo the building about the cornice? And whether or not they particularly could maybe remove it from the building or sections of it?
They've been to the site. I haven't talked to them in detail about it, other than providing the recommendation that Historic Albany provided. So that's the basis for their quote for the salvage was based on that recommendation.
I mean, can we make a request that an attempt be made on the cornice for removal in some way?
we're past that. We've said,
Oh, we're.
remove it for reuse. We've got some comment here that seems a little bit mixed. No, we can't reuse it. Oh, yes, we can take it down in 4-foot sections. Relative to trying to design a solution on, if I were the architect on this project, of course I'm not, and you said, okay, we got these 4-foot sections that you'll be incorporating, I'd say, okay, I don't really care if they're 4 foot or 8 feet, right? As long as I know what they are and how to use them. So I don't mind that they're 4 feet, if that, it'd be a lot easier long-term for everybody if they were larger. but we don't know the equipment for the demo, we don't know storage requirements for longer pieces or shorter pieces, but that's Jason's to solve. We don't want it to go to donated to Historic Albany to become
A mirror.
mirrors.
But they could hold it for the land bank.
That's their
Until-
agreement.
Right,
That's their,
that's up to them,
yeah,
right?
that's, or somewhere else.
Right.
My only concern, observation, just as I didn't, from listening to the conditions, it's clear listening to you what your intent was, but I'm not sure how enforceable that is under the actual language of what was read.
Mhm.
Now, I'm sure the land bank hears your intent. But in terms of the enforceability, it doesn't specify what building it needs to be put on. And then if they don't choose it to put on this building here, then how do we see that through in a future building? And then if it's in pieces too, is it feasible to put that? That's something I don't know. So I think.
Yes,
I think
the last part's
intent
yes, but the other
maybe
part I'm
wasn't
with you.
reflected fully accurately in the conditions, but I think because of that, I think we can encourage the land bank to explore this further and make an attempt to facilitate reuse of the cornice on this building, but I don't know that we can make them do that based on what the decision reads. Not
Along with that, there also, we had discussion, so the motion, had occurred, and during the discussion about the motion, there's also the question. There was also the question of if in the proposed reconstruction, would we be seeking a full cornice reconstruction, which was noted that it would be pretty big, maybe unreasonable to request that on the new construction, depending, because could be cost prohibitive, or notes that were made, and so it was a friendly recommendation, but was not really a condition of that aspect either. So again, there's the spirit of the motion, the land bank, here's you guys as well. The amount of the cornice reused and things like that on the new construction maybe just could also as well as be a discussion for once we have plans for what that'll be along with that.
What is it that we need to do in this hearing?
So we're in a public meeting.
Public meeting, right.
And this was just for the presentation of the applicant's good faith ability to produce a document noting feasibility of salvage. So it was a condition to reappear, present the salvage information and feasibility of it as you guys had requested.
And we don't need to make any kind of a motion.
No, there's no
Okay.
motions to be made.
Oh,
This
great,
is just a
done.
discussion.
This is just talking.
Yes, this is
We're just chatting.
talking, discussing over,
So we could have lots of opinions, but it doesn't really, to your point, it's.
And as Brad said, the enforceability aspect is, as noted, it was to the applicant's ability and the feasibility of the ability. That was what the presentation is really on. Outside of that is just, you guys are voicing what you're hoping to see in the reconstruction the redevelopment of the site and the construction of a new structure.
And at this point, this is a sidewalk level feasibility. The real feasibility comes in when you get up there with a pry bar and start pulling it apart and see
See
how
what happens.
deteriorated it actually is.
Right.
And so I think there may be a second reporting that once we've said, okay, this idea of cutting it into 4-foot sections, we agree with what Historic Albany has said, it can come down in those sections to the extent that it can be brought down intact. And again, it all depends on what they find when they're
When
up
they
there
start,
and start doing it. So the second reporting might be, okay, this is what happened when we started removing the cornice. This is the actual condition that has been determined. And there's another feasibility of can it be put back together? And then the question is where it goes when it gets put back together.
Jason, just for transparency's sake, is it your intent as of now to attempt to salvage the cornice on the building?
You know, we
Or it may
were,
come down.
you know, we're not salvage and preservation experts, we were relying on the recommendation from Historic Albany. And, you know, we want to make, you know, we're trying to thread the needle between, you know, working on development, but also working on preservation and salvage. So it's, you know, there's some challenges here. I think, you know, we want to follow the HRC's recommendations, of course. So I think I agree with what you were saying, that we're going to know a lot more information once we're up there, you know, the crew is up there and attempting the salvage. So it's going to really determine a lot.
But the crew will be up there attempting to salvage. That's what I'm
Yes.
trying to understand.
Yeah, they have a lift that they would use to get up there and attempt the salvage. Yeah, I think you know, a lot of it is, you know, we're trying to figure out what condition it will be in after the salvage. And yeah.
Because we see a lot of demolitions and they just take the whole thing down. And
Yeah,
it's
so-
20 minutes, so
Right,
I just wanted to make sure that didn't happen.
Right, their proposal was to spend a day on the salvage the salvage and removal. So this would be before the demolition. It would, you know, I guess it depends on how long it takes. So it could potentially be 2 days. We haven't planned out the schedule for when that's going to take place, but it would be before the demolition, obviously.
So FYI is, yeah, they'll go there and it'll come down beautifully in sections and you'll have the perfect place to store it, et cetera, et cetera. At the other end of the spectrum is how does somebody who works on historic buildings deal with this dilemma of, I got this thing and I'd like to replicate it. So some dimensions, as best you can. I don't know that your salvage crew isn't really gonna get dimensions, but at a minimum, saving sections and elements. And also, they probably can get some close-up photos. Even the demo guys have their phones in their pocket.
Detail.
Yeah, so that'll be really useful to have. It's kind of at the worst case. And then to save each type of component. Great.
Because in reality, it may come down as a whole series of component pieces rather than an intact chunk of cornice.
Right. Actually, what they can do for you, which would be very helpful, is at least they can get, because you'll have each component, this is the worst case.
Yeah.
You'll have each component and they can give you the dimension between the portals.
Okay.
And then scale, plus you'll have the elements, but you'll, at a minimum, we
Which also, Jason, I will provide all of these in a written form for you.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it.
Do not worry.
No, it's good to have the notes. I know that.
Yeah, you'll have a good written summary.
Good luck with the written summary.
Well, thanks, Jason.
Yeah,
we-
Thank you.
We sincerely appreciate the efforts you're
Yeah.
going to and the research that's being done to kind of fulfill this
Yeah,
unique requirement or request.
I appreciate it. There's some, we have, the land bank has some urgency because the site at 47 Second Ave is currently is going to start construction soon. So we wanted to really get this moving so it's nothing happens to the site prior to an actual demolition. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Good luck.
thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Who decided figured out we didn't need to do anything? That was great.
I think I said that. But I think they told us.
It's really clear
Push
that
in the right
Chris,
direction.
yes, you.
we're being presented this information in response response to what we requested.
Mhm.
That's what we've
That
done.
was great.
And that is the only item today.
All right.
Okay.
So what happened to the
Oh,
mural?
it was.
It was just, well, so public meeting items, don't have public comment periods really, because it's just a presentation, because
Oh,
it's not
so
a
we
hearing.
couldn't come.
No, oh, he's attending.
Oh, okay.
Because he can attend.
Okay.
But in terms of, the other item was just requested to be rescinded off the agenda.
The other item was what?
Was, withdrawn from the agenda.
Very
They contacted
Oh, the
me
mural.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had reached out to me yesterday. So it's not an item of discussion for tonight.
You have to wait.
There's a lot to talk about around murals, especially on what I assume was an original exterior wall. Sometimes we see them on where buildings have been lost adjacent. But I think the mural, regardless of its content or design, it's a little bit challenging in a situation like this. And it could go back to the whole question of reversibility, which often we don't have to deal with because we're looking at a building that wasn't originally exposed.
What number?
And that has a interesting technical content of, okay, well, how would you remove the mural in the future if it was reversible? Or maybe you just paint over it, maybe you would just consider it.
Yeah, wasn't it already painted?
Yeah, you just paint over it.
It looks like it was, I thought I saw that the side of the building was already painted.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks like it's already painted. So,
I guess so often the murals we see are they're not as prominent as on a part of the building. Like even remember all the discussions on the Lionheart mural and it was such an important entry into the city, but it was not an original wall, and this feels different. This feels like a real impact on a very intact historic building.
I think it's just plain inappropriate.
But it's not on the agenda, so we don't have to do anything
Right,
here
so we
either.
can't talk about it.
I mean, talk about it.
So we don't,
There we go.
we don't
Still America.
wander into a legal quagmire here. We get to do it the next time it comes up.
Actually, there was a long piece written about that our attorney wrote to us about murals a couple years ago. In the jurisdiction, wasn't there?
Yeah, it's in the packet.
yeah,
It
there
was
was
in
very
the
clear guidance in the
but
packet.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
that'll be provided, if and when the mural
Okay,
appears again, and we'll have all of that again for you guys.
okay.
Okay,
All right.
great.
Are there any other items to come before us this evening?
No. I don't think so.
I will attend next week the Pine Hills Land Development Agency. They made it look like there was no historic importance when in fact they're all HR eligible. I will mention that to it, to go on the record.
Do you want company at that meeting?
Sure, that would be nice.
All right, let me know.
Regards the south, the northeast corner.
Has there been a National Register eligibility determination made on those buildings?
I don't know the status of it, but I know people who do that.
They are eligible.
They have
The
officially been
Campus is
determined.
eligible, I think, through
As a
our
district?
survey. It's not listed, but I believe it's eligible.
I'll look on Chris. So has the SHPO though determined National Register eligibility? Or can we as in CLG determine National Register eligibility?
We can do local. right?
Can we determine local, is that what you're saying, that it's locally eligible? Because,
So we did a reconnaissance survey of the
Mhm.
Pine Hills neighborhood last year. And one of the areas potentially deemed eligible for listing on the National Register was the St. Rose, the former St. Rose campus.
okay,
I think that speaks to eligibility, but I don't know how the formal, we haven't gone to the point of actually doing a listing or anything like that. We did get a quote for services for that, but being that the county owns the entire property,
yeah,
it's sort of you typically need the property owner support and things of that nature. So, we've certainly conveyed to them that that's an opportunity.
but if it has that eligibility determination, that's good enough. That's equivalent to the designation for the purposes of making sure that the proper reviews are done.
That's my
So,
understanding.
yeah,
By the state
that's it.
or by,
Doesn't matter, well, that's what I'm saying.
That's
It
what you're
has to
saying,
have
by the
an
state.
official SHPO determination
Right.
of National Register eligibility. So it sounds like,
I can check and let you guys know if
okay.
a DOE's been done or not yet on it.
And if it hasn't, can we submit for a DOE? Because SHPO needs, in my experience, they need a trigger to make that official determination. So if the consultant said, in the reconnaissance survey, said they think this is potentially eligible, but didn't submit that to,
They have the report. Let's confirm whether or not it's already the determination.
Okay, yeah.
And go from there.
okay,
So I'll check that. And then remember, if company going to any of these things, just, you guys cannot
No more than
congregate.
3.
Yeah, please do not congregate.
Why don't we adjourn first?
Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Will we adjourn?
So moved. Second, vote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're adjourned.
Second.
all right.
stay cool.
It's beautiful. I'm still angry they're demolishing it, but